Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to this. This isn't coffee moaning. This is just a very brief but important live. I hope you're all well. Coffee moaning will be happening later today. Just a number of kind of pressing matters elsewhere, family matters that are kind of preventing coffee moaning from happening basically at the normal time. But I thought I had to just go live and just follow up on a YouTube short and an Instagram post that I posted last night, coming off the back of a report that first landed in this country in the incredibly overzealous Daily Telegraph. And it's curious, actually, because platforms like Middle East Eye, Al Jazeera aren't necessarily even carrying this story yet. This is a story that broke in America in the Washington Post. This is something that it's not entirely new, this suggestion, but this is the closest we've got to knowing that there is a 38-page, I thought it was 25-page last night, 38-page document pushing around Capitol Hill, Washington, the White House, a document that's been developed and pored over and brought together by the likes of Tony Blair, Jared Kushner, who's Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, who's only talked of the Gaza Strip in terms of it being some really potentially valuable real estate. And this is basically America's potential post-war plans for the Gaza Strip and what their plans are for the Palestinians living in the Gaza Strip. And as I said in my reel or Instagram post last night, the kind of bare bones of this proposal are beyond shocking. The suggestion is, I'm going to read from the Washington Post rather than, and just quickly on that note, that various other kind of publications, even Middle Eastern publications, aren't running this story. What I'm hoping, and the reason I thought it was really important that we did this live, and it's important that you talk to people, and it's important that you share the reel and share the story and all this stuff, and other people, other kind of accounts are beginning to kind of touch upon this. What I'm hoping is that what happens in politics, and we've talked about this a lot in this country, is when a government is going to do something that potentially is really unpopular, they'll float or they'll trickle the bare bones or structure of that proposal out to see what the response is. And I hope and I believe that sometimes if the response is so negative and there's such a backlash, they rein it in and they pull back from it. And we're a tiny channel comparative to lots of others. I'm just hoping that in discussing it, putting it out there and looking at the shocking details of this, the more people talk about it, the more shamed we can shame them. People can shame them into not actually pursuing this as a potential policy. So the weird thing is when this story broke last night, and it was the Daily Telegraph, a renowned Zionist supporting right-wing newspaper. When they published this story last night, and it's still there on the news app, it's interesting. They'll have published it a little bit like they did the Greta Thunberg story yesterday, because they are overzealous in wanting this kind of thing to happen. Their zealotry and their desire to kind of almost their relish of this story trip them into releasing something that when and if and when everyone wraps their heads around it, as I've put in the title, everyone will begin to see this for what it is, which is potentially, if it happens, one of the most grisly possible storylines in a series like Black Mirror. You couldn't make this shit up. And it even involves digital tokens. It involves transforming Palestinian indigenous rights into digital tokens. But there's also another grisly, unbelievable detail in all of this that I kind of missed in the horror response to what I was reading last night. And then obviously we all went to bed. And we'll get to that in a moment. But let me just read from the Washington Post. This is, so the proposal, the plan. So listen to this. This is the plan, 38-page prospectus outlining the temporary, they call it temporary relocation of all of Gaza's 2 million population. They call them voluntary departures to another country. Again, no decision on what that other country is. Each Palestinian who chooses to leave will be given a $5,000 cash payment, subsidies to cover 4 years of rent elsewhere, as well as a year of food. Though this is the sinister detail that I kind of missed. Now, bearing in mind that the vast majority of the Gaza Strip is now The Last of Us dystopian apocalyptic wasteland of rubble and concrete and death. Okay, so how do we work out who owned what? Where are the deeds? Where are the ownership rights? This is the interesting part. So Israel has razed to the ground the vast majority of the Gaza Strip. They've blitzkrieged, they've scorched earth the Gaza Strip. But get this detail. This is the bit that's so when you think about those who own land, who decides who owns the land? This is an occupied strip. Who owns what land? Who is going to be able to prove what they own when entire family names have been removed from the Palestinian census? How do we establish land ownership in the carnage of Gaza? Riddle me that. Riddle me that. Where even in the West Bank, where land ownership speaks to nothing because the settlers come in and simply take it. Okay, but let's just carry on in this sinister sort of attempt at sanity and sanitized solution finding for this. Those who own land will be offered a digital token by the trust in exchange, here, a digital token, and we'll redevelop your property. This is so sinister. Imagine Black Mirror. We'll redevelop your property. What property? What? The grave of my children. That's that rubble there. And then they'll redevelop your property, and then the digital token will be used to finance a new life elsewhere, or can eventually be, get this, redeemed for an apartment in one of 6 to 8 new artificially intelligent powered smart cities. I mean, I can't even fathom what they're saying. My heart is pounding at the cold-hearted, sinister serving up of digital tokens. They're cryptocurrencying the plight of the Palestinians in Gaza. They're suggesting land ownership means you can have a digital token, a digital token. Where will all the Palestinians in Gaza go? Well, the plan is that the 2 million will either be relocated elsewhere or they will be forced into the similar sort of concentration camp situations in certain parts of the Gaza Strip. Guess what the name of this 38-page document proposal is? It's called GREAT. It's called the Gaza Reconstitution, Economic Acceleration and Transformation Trust. The Great Trust. It's a great trust. And guess who's developed this proposal? Alongside Blair, alongside Kushner, the proposal has been developed, guess by who? Some of the Israelis who created and set in motion the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. Oh, the killing fields, the bait stations. It's just beyond belief. And this proposal is what Blair has been part of. I just have to ask once again, who the fuck has invited Blair into this? Why is Blair? I know there's the literal answer, and I know people can be very literal, that he was a Middle East envoy, He is a representative of the Zionist Israeli government. He is a man who's been placed into all of this fucking quagmire of immorality to sanitize and make somehow respectable this absolutely hideous suggestion. This is identical to how American colonizers hoodwinked and basically kidded and baited the indigenous American Indians in America. This is exact $5,000. Putting a price on the life, and the other kind of the other transactional aspect of this is the reason they're offering 5,000 is that will be a huge cost saver because actually the plan estimates that every individual departure from Gaza would actually save the trust $23,000, compared with the cost of temporary housing and what it calls life support in the secure zones for those who stay. So it's much more convenient and much more cost effective if everyone leaves the country for $5,000, takes a digital token, and they're expected to trust an Israeli-backed system that's going to mop up the Gaza Strip, and they're going to be able to redeem their tokens. This is exactly what happened in the original Nakba. Leave and you'll be able to come back. Leave and you'll be... Are they having an absolute joke? And now the Palestinians in Gaza are at their wits' end. This is the most awful criminality, and none of our leaders are talking about it. Not only will they not talk about things like the double tap attacks on hospitals, I'm beginning to wonder whether they have the intellectual bandwidth to even understand what is happening here. Blair, supposed to be a good Catholic boy, his narrowing face looking more and more like a weasel, a financially orientated weasel. AI-powered city hubs. As he said, the Gazans want to be like Dubai. Which Palestinians in Gaza has he spoken to? This is one of the most sinister administrative developments, because there will be many people who go, oh, a little bit of money and a digital token. All of this is presumptuous of the idea that you can trust anyone offering the deal. Trump's post-war plan for Gaza includes voluntary relocation of the entire population. It envisions building a tourism resort on the rubble. The Trump admin and international partners are discussing proposals to build the Riviera of the Middle East. Trump vows to take over the enclave, turn it into a trusteeship administered by the US. It's administered by the US. Israel will be able to go, this is great. Who's going to benefit from the US owning it? Who's going to have the Gaza Strip carved up for them? Who's already buying? Okay, here's a question. How can the Palestinians prove land ownership when in Brooklyn, Zionists are auctioning strips of land in the Gaza Strip? We already know that no one in Israel, in the government in Israel, and no one in the American government acknowledges or recognizes land ownership. If they don't recognize a Palestinian state and they don't recognize the sanctity of the West Bank or Palestinian communities in the West Bank, fuck off. A digital token? If you are a landowner, what about all the land owned? And what about this detail? Who's going to decide whether the land was owned by Hamas? It's all Hamas. You can't give digital tokens to Hamas. I'm hoping this is so extraordinary, it will just disappear. But this is the serious document spreading around, being passed around, being discussed, and everyone and anyone who sees or has an opportunity to flag up any opposition to Tony Blair, he needs to be asked questions about what qualifies him to be part of this. What qualifies this man who, I felt in that speech not that long ago, felt he had to acknowledge his part in the atrocities of the Iraq war and the mess that he created with the dodgy dossier and the non-existent weapons of mass destruction. Oh, that rings a bell. Iran has a nuclear weapon. Oh, but it doesn't. That rings a bell. Who put him in? Who put him in there? Peter Mandelson, ambassador to the US, UK's ambassador to the US, fucking Blair's right-hand man. What a stitch up. What a carve up. All the laws, you're right, Carol Beach, have been rewritten about land ownership. So sitting there and just going, well, land ownership, if you own it, here's a Doge, here's a token, here's your Doge token. This is being suggested. This has been mooted. Middle East Eye, Al Jazeera, they're not reporting it yet. I don't understand why. Because in reporting it, it hasn't happened yet. but presumably create enough outrage, and enough outrage will mean that it can't happen. So I just had to go live and just say to you, because a number of people are saying, is this true? It hasn't been decided as a policy, but this is the serious policy that is being mooted, discussed, and pushed around the White House. The Riviera, the Trump Riviera. And I just wanted to home in on, because I didn't have a chance, I hadn't gone into the finer details last night in my Instagram post. I just realized, I thought, oh, that pernicious little detail about land. Look, those who own land would be offered a digital token in exchange for rights to redevelop their property, to be used to finance a new life elsewhere, or redeemed for an apartment in one of the new AI-powered smart cities to be built in Gaza. Come on, pull the other one. Most of the landowners have been killed. Entire family names have been wiped out. Are you seriously? Is there going to be are there going to be realtors walking around the Gaza Strip measuring it up and going, oh, well, that belongs to, and what of the Zionists in Brooklyn who've bought up all the land, sold it off already? And Daniela Weiss and her cohorts all standing on the edge of the Gaza Strip like a scene from The Walking Dead, ready to run in. This was the headline in the Telegraph last night. Couldn't help themselves. The Telegraph, they couldn't help themselves. Get it out there. So excitable, the Telegraph. This is the Washington Post. Gaza, this was their exclusive yesterday. Just wanted to show you primary sources of evidence of the story. Gaza post-war plan envisions, they have the grace to put in inverted commas, voluntary relocation of entire population. Post-war plan sees US administering Gaza for at least a decade. And on Friday, The Guardian asked, why are Palestinians shut out of post-war plans whilst Tony Blair discusses their future? Evil, sinister, shocking, a storyline that Black Mirror would look at and go, it's a bit extreme. It's a bit callous. It's a bit too frightening. Please keep your comments coming in below. We'll probably discuss this again briefly later. Coffee Moaning will be happening later. Do subscribe, hit the notification bell on the channel. If you want to feel hope and if you want to feel solidarity, check out the live I did yesterday with the launch of the Global Samud Flotilla, just to feel some sense that you're not on your own. Yeah, I just wanted to give you the nuts and bolts of this story. As I say, I will be live later. Have a good day, and yeah, just keep sharing, keep discussing, keep talking. All right, guys, bye.